Welcome back to another episode on the Windsor Wednesday show. Today, I'm so excited to share with you the guests we have on the show. Up below, we have, or at the very top, we have Renaldo Agostino. He's a University of Windsor alumnus who completed a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and continues to be involved with the University of Windsor through UWSA and then also through a variety of other community events. So glad to have Renaldo on the show. Down below, we have Michelle Bondy. Michelle Bondy is an Experiential Learning Specialist in the School of Environment and Faculty of Science, and also a UWindsor grad. And then we have Nikko Drkulec. Nikko's a third-year biological sciences student and also Vice President of Internal Affairs for the University of Windsor Science Society. So we have great backgrounds on the show today, different industries, and I'm excited to get started. So with the first question for Michelle, let's talk about your role. What does an experiential learning specialist do?
Yeah, so like the title says, part of my role is doing experiential learning for undergraduate students. So that's the first part of my role. And what that looks like kind of varies on a day-to-day basis, but I always teach 3 different undergrad courses for students that are placement-based. So students can do a part-time placement with an organization, with a lab or a group on campus or with a company, and they obviously have that experience, and then they submit assignments to me kind of reflecting on that experience and what they're learning from it. So I'm always doing that. And then I also help out with extracurricular experiential learning opportunities in science. That looks different all the time depending on what project is going on. One, for example, is the USci network that Dr. Dora Cavallo-Medved runs, where our students can get involved in leading 6 different initiatives. So those students are gaining leadership skills and different extracurricular experiences. So I kind of help with those sorts of things where I can. The other side of my job is doing science outreach for the faculty. So we organize programs like Science Olympiad, Science Rendezvous, Let's Talk Science. And these are programs where we can reach out to the community and to local schools and deliver different types of science programming to get youth and people of all ages really excited about science.
Fantastic. Michelle, you mentioned initiatives that the students can work with and with the professor. What are some of those initiatives that they can get involved with?
Yeah, so there's 6 different ones in USci. I'm not sure if I'll get them all right off, but some of my personal favorite ones. So we have the Women in Science initiative to kind of create a social support network and get the word out about women doing cool things in science. So there's that one. There's Sigh of Relief, which is our mental health support in the Faculty of Science. So we work with a psychologist on that project, and there's different initiatives. So students will do My Monday events, and it's all about kind of, taking a breather and doing something related to self-care and different mental wellness initiatives like that. There's a Science Living Learning community in one of the residence buildings. So students can all live on one floor that are in science, and then there's different social and academic activities related to that. There's a Careers in Science initiative where we offer different careers workshops to help students work on resume writing. We used to have a LinkedIn event when we could be in person. Students could get a professional photo taken for their LinkedIn profile. And we're still doing a lot of these things online. Obviously, with the virtual environment, some aspects of it have changed, but we're still going forward. The students are doing a great job organizing them. And these are all student-driven initiatives.
Wow, that's fantastic. It's a whole abundance of initiatives that students can get involved with, specifically with science. And I wonder if Nikko knows any of the initiatives that you're talking about. I can imagine he's shaking his head like he knows a lot of them. So that's great. I appreciate that. Thanks for sharing, Michelle.
Sure.
So Renaldo, jumping over to you, you completed your communication studies degree at the University of Windsor. And I know you apply this definitely throughout your role today in your career, in your multiple entrepreneurial ventures. How have you, share with the people watching, how have you been able to apply what you've learned through your degree into your role today?
And for having me here today. I think really what it comes down to for me is, my experiences at the university and in my courses, and even continuing past that, as I still do a lot of work with the UWSA. Really, the most important thing that I take from what I did back then and process it now and use it now in my everyday business career is really just making sure that I'm on top of everything daily. Making sure, just like when I was in school, to me, the most important thing about going to university wasn't just doing all the work. It was really showing up every day, being in class on time every day, making sure I was paying attention every day to everything that the professors were saying. And that's what I take the most out of my career and out of my education, being there, being present every day, being on top of things every day, and really the competitive aspect of being in a classroom with 400 people, when you're sitting in the hall and everyone's trying to do better than everyone else. I remember those things, and I take those things and I apply them today by saying, if when I was in school, I had to try and be the best because that was the only way to survive. And when you do that in the business career, you take that into the next level, and it doesn't matter what program you're in. It doesn't matter what you're studying. When you're in school, you have to try and beat the person beside you. And it's the same thing in business. When you're in business, you've got to be better than everybody else. And that's really what I learned the most about being at the University of Windsor, is the competitive nature of the classrooms, of the school, of trying to make yourself better. And there's actually people there that are going to teach you how to do it. You just got to show up and pay attention.
So, Renaldo, you continue to stay connected with the University of Windsor and specifically UWSA. Why?
You know what? It was about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, the UWSA president at the time, Andre Capaldi, came to us with an idea about doing a music festival for the university. And we've done 12. Obviously, this year there's no events. We also do all the Welcome Week events on campus with the UWSA. So I've been blessed enough to really never leave the University of Windsor. I spend far too much time there than I should because I absolutely love it there. But I continue to work with the university every year. And even this year, we with COVID being what it was, we still did some events with the University Student Association of UWSA. So I've been blessed to have a great relationship with the UWSA, to stay connected with the University of Windsor. The changes that I've seen in the past, I don't want to age myself, but I've seen some things at that university change that I could never believe would change. And it's just such a fantastic place to be. The atmosphere there is incredible. The student center is great. It's really been nice to be able to see the evolution of the university over the past 25 years.
Fantastic, Renaldo, and I'm glad you've been able to keep that connection with University of Windsor. That's great. Thank you. Nikko, jumping to you, you have a pretty exciting role at Science Society. You're Vice President of Internal Affairs. What would you say you enjoy most about that role?
Oh, wow. I mean, honestly, being in Science Society, not only did I come into this role, I also came and joined in my first year, and my second year I was a first year and second year rep. So I slowly got to acclimate myself to the environment that is Science Society. And honestly, I can't thank them enough for all that they've shaped me into the personal attributes that I've gained. And just to give a little background to everyone what Science Society is, essentially we're a student-run organization or council. Some elected members, some appointed officios and coordinators. And essentially our mission is to advocate, represent, and unify all students in the Faculty of Science. And through this mission, we tend to represent these students on behalf of decisions made in the Faculty of Science, as well as fundraising events where we like to build funds for charity. And we actually just got our elected charity of the year, which is We Care for Kids, which is super exciting. In the past 2 years, we had hospice and John McGivney's Children's Center. So those are two amazing charities that we got to do a lot for. As far as the role in itself and the personal things that I've learned, it really forces me to get out of my comfort zone. Coming into my first year, I like to kind of stay on under the radar, be a fly on the wall, relax. But Science Society really thrusts you into that open limelight where you have to be a leader amongst your peers and really represent all the students around you. And another thing is it really helps you learn a lot of interpersonal skills. The social aspect of having to get out there and represent these students, which means you have to meet them, you have to put yourself out there, introduce yourself, get to know your profs, get to know your dean, get to know your teammates so you can work great in the team setting. And also ultimately just gives you a great sense of pride of being a science student. And just to transition into my role specifically as VP Internal this year, I thought taking that next step would be great just to learn a lot of leadership skills. And something that's really become prominent this year, which I totally did not expect, is working closely with our president, Luke Strong. And a theme that we've been going with is learning how to adapt, because with this new COVID world, a lot of unexpected things are happening. We don't really have the leisure of doing what past executives have done, which is just build upon the last year and keep getting better and better. This is a completely different animal that we had to completely change our setup and our initiative going forwards. And I think that all these obstacles that life is presenting to you, it's really important to learn how to adapt and continue to move forward. And I think that's going to be applicable to any aspect of life, and hopefully to me as I embark on a professional school application in the future.
For sure. So Nikko, how can someone being in their first year get involved with Science Society?
Oh, with Science Society? Well, we actually just had our first year elections. So we had 5 first year representatives. We actually just got those selected. So unfortunately, the people who want to get involved can't run into our election, but we do have plenty of opportunities to get involved through our Sci Squad initiative. So essentially it's not elected officials, but if you wanted to just volunteer with us, we have opportunities for you to come volunteer, go to our events, be a prominent face at our Science Society events, get volunteer hours, and you still get that take home feeling of pride and sense of changing something in your community.
Awesome. Thank you. So Michelle, going over to you, you completed a Bachelor of Education and also a Bachelor of Science, and also minoring in geography. In what ways did what you learned throughout your undergrad parallel your current role today?
Yeah, so it's interesting how much parallel there is actually between the two things, between my job and my education. Obviously, having a background in science and education helps me in my role. But even just thinking back to my own experience as an undergrad in science, the experiences that really stand out to me are the labs, the hands-on experiences, the field trips that I got to go on as part of my courses. So, I have really great memories of going to the Detroit River and fishing with seine nets in Dr. Higgs' Biology of Fishes course, going on a field trip to Point Pelee and Holiday Beach to bird watch for Dr. Mendel's ornithology course. Those types of courses really stuck with me, and I learned a lot from those experiences. And in my courses, in my geography minor, I remember taking environmental impact assessment, and we actually formed groups, and we had to act as environmental consultants and assess all of the different environmental impacts on a specific project. So we had kind of those authentic experiences, those hands-on experiences, and that really helped me. Undergraduate research was also a big focus for me, so I got involved in that probably in my 3rd year, I think, as a volunteer, and then I ended up doing an undergraduate thesis in Dr. Stephanie Doucette's lab, and that really set the stage for me to go to grad school. So I went away for my master's in ornithology. And so without having those experiences in my undergrad, I would have never considered graduate school. So that really shaped my career path as an undergraduate student. And in the Bachelor of Education program, it was very similar. Those placements where you're going into the classrooms and working with teachers and experiencing what it's like to be a classroom teacher really stuck with me. And while I'm not teaching in a K-12 classroom anymore, I'm certainly using that knowledge when I'm planning my outreach activities, because we're doing activities in classrooms all the time. So I still need to use my lesson planning skills. I need the knowledge of the curriculum. So you would think that I planned this all, but I didn't. It just kind of happened gradually and naturally, and I feel really lucky that it worked out this way.
And would you say that being a student at the University of Windsor, now teaching at the University of Windsor, has that helped you relate to what students may be going through?
Absolutely. And especially, so I consider myself somebody who was more introverted in my undergrad, but I still, was able to get involved in research and those sorts of things. So I try to consider different experiences for different types of students. Not everybody wants to do everything, and I think that's okay. I try to encourage students to come out of their shell a bit and try new experiences, but there's so much to offer that if one experience doesn't suit you, there's something else that you can do. So it's kind of like a menu of options, and students can choose between them. But we do encourage students to get out there and try new things if they can. And, having research had such an impact on my career, I really advocate for that. And that's something that a lot of people in science advocate for, or everybody in science, I should say.
That's great. Thank you. So Renaldo, jumping over to you, I know throughout our conversations, you've mentioned some pretty great stories, but share with those watching, what would be, if you had to pick, one of your favorite memories while at the University of Windsor? whether it could be as a student or it could be working with them outside of school?
So many great memories from my time at the University of Windsor. And, you know, if I take a second to think about it, I could think of, you know, living in residence at Cartier Hall, meeting some of my best friends that I still connect with that aren't even in the city of Windsor anymore. Having a radio show with Mike Manella on CJAM, being a teacher assistant for Dr. Richard Lewis. My lab partner was Jermaine Franklin, who now works at TSN in Calgary. There's so many great memories. I was, you know, blessed to be on stage with the likes of Avicii and Betty Wap and Benny Benassi, Richie Hawtin, and 10,000 people. There's so many great memories that it's going to be really hard for me to pick one from my time at the University of Windsor. And, I think my best memory is the first day I arrived on campus in residence, and it really started this great journey because, you know, I guess all of that gives all of them credence. So definitely my first day of school, my first day moving into residence, student life was fantastic. That would probably have to be the first and the best.
So Renaldo, as we spoke, you're not from the Windsor area. Why did you choose University of Windsor?
You know what? I was from Toronto, and I just wanted to try something different. And now Windsor's my home. And not only is it, you know, as we discussed this, you know, we started talking about this show and what I was going to say and how this is going to work. And really, in my mind's eye, I think of it this way. My time at the University of Windsor was so important, and it was so special that I'm sure out of the four of us here, I'm the only one who can make a statement like this. I'm at the position now where next year my son is going to go to university. And I don't think anybody here is old enough besides me to have kids. So thinking of my time at the university and thinking of my son who's in grade 12, the only place I would ever want him to go would be to the University of Windsor. So that's really, you know, what's my, I guess the best thing I could say as not only a person who's from somewhere else, who came here and made Windsor my home. Not only have I enjoyed my time there, do I love the University of Windsor, but I want to send my son there because I think it's that important.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Renaldo. So Nikko, jumping over to you, you're in your third year. What would be some advice you could give to students that are specifically about to join the science program?
Well, I definitely have quite a few things to say for them, and oddly enough, about none of them are related to academics, just because it's such a generic thing to say, oh, get organized, study hard. Like the fact that kids are entering a science program means that they should have the capabilities to understand that and apply that with this faculty going forward. So I think something that's really important is the ability to develop your interpersonal skills. And something that I wanted to reiterate was our dean of the Faculty of Science, Dr. Chris Hauser, has this great saying that he always likes to say during welcome week. It's the worst thing that you can do in your 4 years of undergrad is go to class. And the first time I heard that guy say that, I kind of thought he was crazy. I really had no idea what he meant. But going into my third year, I fully understand that now. Essentially what it means is getting complacent in your first year isn't going to get you anywhere. And a common theme as a welcome week leader that I just experienced, we actually had the same question, and we had to give this advice to our first years. And all of the leaders kind of had the same mantra on their first year. They said, oh, like, it was okay, it could have been better. My fault was I was too complacent. I went to class with the same people. I did the same thing. I just went to school. I went home. It was boring. And you heard that over and over and over. And when you think of what you can tell these incoming students is, don't make the same mistakes that we made. Get out of your comfort zone. Go join a club. But like Michelle said, research isn't for everybody. Like for me personally, I still have the opportunity to do research because our faculty is amazing. We have so many opportunities. However, it's not something that I'm in right now, just because I ended up diving into all these different clubs, and I found that developing my social skills was something that I really enjoyed. And I just happened to get more busy and busy with all these involvements, right? And another thing is meeting your peers. You're not going to meet your peers by going to class, sitting in the same spot, not looking around, not introducing yourself to anyone, and going home. And while for some people they just want to get their degree, that's fine. But for, I'd say, maybe the average person, you want to have people to connect with. You want to make your school experience enjoyable. So when you're in your lab, introduce yourself to the person across from you. That's how I met pretty much my entire group of friends right now. And I'm extremely thankful for that. And I'd say second year is when I tended to step out of my skin, and a lot of other people, that seems to be the common theme. So I would just really encourage first years to not let this year pass you by, but be active, be proactive, get out there, introduce yourself, get out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I guess you would be a prime example of someone that got involved and really developed your social skills. Like, we can see this through the presentation and the interview today. So I appreciate that advice, Nikko.
Thank you.
And the favorite question of the day, we ask this on every show: why are we UWinProud? Renaldo, we'll have you kick it off.
Why are we UWinProud? We are UWinProud because University of Windsor is the best, baby.
Why is it the best?
It's the best because of some of the things that Nikko said. I'm not sure I 100% agree with his point about not going to class, but I agree with everything else he said because it's the experience is everything. If you want to learn something, a book will teach you that. If you want to experience something, that's what UWindsor for. It's all about the experience, baby.
Awesome. Thanks, Renaldo. Michelle, down to you. Why would you say you're proud to be a graduate and then also a staff member at the University of Windsor?
Yeah, so I mean, it all kind of goes together for me and in all of these experiences. So it's hard to pick just one. I think if I had to, it would be when I get to hear from our former students, when they come back and visit, or when they send me an email and update me on their lives, and I get to read or hear about all the amazing things they're doing now. That makes me really proud, because I feel like our university, our campus, whether they were involved in clubs or research or whatever they were doing here in their time at UWindsor, it helped them prepare for their next step, and they're off being successful in the world. I hear from students who are in grad school now, who are in professional schools, who are working in industry either locally or across the country. Some of them are done their professional schools already. I've been working on campus now for almost 8 years. And it's really exciting for me to hear what they're up to now. And I also really love that they actually want to come back and give us updates, because that means they still feel connected to our campus. And I think that's wonderful.
It is. Thank you. And Nikko, to wrap it all up, why are you UWinProud? Why are you proud to be a student at the University of Windsor?
Just the overall sense of community. Honestly, like I said, having the experience being a Welcome Week leader, you get to experience it firsthand and just see the way all the faculties interact, the diversity, the essentially how everyone is included. I remember just an experience that I had during the Welcome Week move-in. My friends and I, we were moving everyone up the stairs in the residence, and we ended up seeing these international students that were just sitting in their dorm room, and we ended up just hanging out with them the entire day, like pretty much just partying and having a great time. And it's just the sense of community with someone that you don't even know just because they're a Windsor student is something that really resonated with me. And also just the Faculty of Science is completely amazing. The 17:1 student to faculty ratio is great. It's a great sense of community, small, tight knit. Walk into Essex Hall Sci Lounge, you just get to see all your friends there. It's a great thing, many opportunities, and yeah, I'm extremely proud to be a Lancer.
Fantastic. Well, for those guests that are joining us today, Nikko, Michelle, and Renaldo, I appreciate your time on the show. And for those watching, thanks for tuning in this week. We'll see you next week.